Well, hello and good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's evening edition of the Goldie Show. Of course, with me, your host, Goldie Ghamari. Welcome back, everyone. I know that last night, some of us went on a school field trip to space and science land. And for those of you who were kind enough to join me, we had a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun. And we're going on another school field trip tomorrow evening as well. So stay tuned for that because, yeah, it's going to be fun. And we're going to be talking more and learning more about science stuff. So, yeah, I feel like we're kind of going on like a field trip, right? All of us are just going to um, my sister's channel, but I will speak more on that momentarily because there is a lot to cover tonight, especially with President Trump's new posts on Truth Social, the reaction from the Islamic regime, the ceasefire, or the I don't know how long it lasted. That's the ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel, which pretty much lasted only about, I don't know, what, 10 minutes? And then, of course, we have all of the commentary and analysts and panicins and everything, right? And everyone's wondering what is going on right now. And I know that there's a lot of frustration from the side of, Israelis and Iranians. But having said that, let's go to Sean Hannity because he's about to start.
In this week with a
And
busy news night now coming up, Iran's third-tier extremist leaders, they continue to flirt with disaster amid a chance for what would be a historic peace deal. Back here at home, a new twist in one of the 11 missing person cases surrounding Americans that are tied to secret nuclear and rocket programs mysteriously disappearing. We got that full report tonight. Also, new details on President Trump's effort to declassify even more shocking details and videos from our country's unidentified aerial phenomenon database. Pretty believable to me, and you'll see for yourself and decide. Also, later, one MSDNC host who is a dual citizen of Canada and the U.S. feels, quote, deep unease about celebrating America's 250th birthday. The one and only LJ Lawrence Jones is here tonight, but we begin with another red-hot dumpster fire in the Democratic Party, which now looks poised to override the will of its own voters yet again. Now, in the state of Maine, the Democrats' presumptive Senate nominee, Graham Plattner, is now facing serious allegations, one after another, including a shocking new discovery. Apparently, Plattner maintained an active account on a messaging app reportedly used by sex predators, and that is only the tip of the iceberg. And it appears Democrats are ready to try yet again another last-minute candidate swap, similar to what they did with Kamala Harris and Joe Biden in that debacle. Anyway, here with all the gritty details from our nation's capital, the swamp itself, our very own Kevin Cork is there. Kevin.
What a night. Let me tell you, at some point, Sean, it's got to become, let's face it, too much, even to claim to be a viable candidate for the Senate. But Maine's Graham Plattner is not there yet. We'll see if that happens. It's getting late, though. Let's be honest, right? I mean, I want you to consider the following. He's got a variety pack of problems, Sean: an alleged Nazi-inspired tattoo, claims of disrespect toward members of the military, accusations he sent about a half dozen women to whom he's not married, sexually explicit messages. Oh, and now apparently he is still active on an account on a social media app, Kick, which is known to be popular. It's anonymous, and it's known to be a hotbed of hookups and adultery. Who knew? And did I mention he's got photos of the app and that he's been active for 3,611 days in a row, including today? Not surprisingly, this has begun to take a toll on his marriage. His wife even posted a video today saying, in effect, she's standing by her man, acknowledging that they're both in therapy, individually and as a couple. And despite polling showing that Plattner is extremely competitive in a potential race against Susan Collins, it is fair to point out that, let's be honest, the polling in Maine is kind of ridiculous. It always underestimates Collins' support, usually by 10 points or more, which means that while some say it could be close if he were to get there, others say maybe not so much. And if that weren't crazy enough, the state's governor, Janet Mills, a Democrat, says, hey, I'm still on the ballot for June 9th. It's a primary, despite the fact that she suspended her campaign in April. You know, I love Maine. I vacation in Biddeford Pool. It's a great state. Portland, one of my favorite towns in the country. I cannot explain what's going on up there right now, Sean.
Yeah, well, a little strange happening. Here's the interesting part. If he wins the primary, he would have to take himself out of contention. And I think he has about 2 weeks to do it. Then they have about 2 weeks to fill the void. It would be the, quote, leaders of Maine's Democratic Party. Where we've seen this movie before.
Yeah, it reminds me of November, or wait, I guess it was in the summer of 2024. Yeah.
All right, Kevin Cork, thank you for that report. The floodgates, they are now open. The Plattner campaign is now facing one leak after another. Every political instinct I personally have, my opinion, tells me most of these leaks, I would argue, that I believe they're probably coming from inside the Democratic Party. This is not a Republican dirty trick. I don't feel it. I don't sense it. I don't see it. Now, it is important that these horrific stories are rising to the surface. Voters have a right to know. But of course, Democrats would have an ulterior motive now, wouldn't they? I think they want Plattner gone. And according to state law, they have until June 27 to replace him on the ballot. For that to happen, all they have to do is force his hand and ignore the will of their own voters. But they would have to force him to bow out. Good luck with that part. Now, just like they did in 2024 with Biden and Kamala, and he would have to step down after he wins the primary. I wonder if I don't know, wonder out loud. Maybe there's some Democratic billionaire that will make him an offer he can't refuse. I don't know. So now top Democrats and members of the legacy media mob who once made excuses, let's see, for his Nazi tattoo, his horrible statements about women and rape, and, that's right, about our troops and American heroes, and his purported, let's say, desire for sex acts and porta potties. These same Democrats, all of a sudden now, they feel some unease. For example, here is New Jersey Senator Cory Booker. Take a look.
Do you have concerns with the weight of all these controversies that it may jeopardize Democratic hopes to get that?
Am I unmuted now? Oh my gosh. Yeah, sorry, I was having some weird mic issues. Can you guys hear me now? You guys can hear me? All right, okay. Sorry about that. Sorry. Oh, thank you guys. Always looking out for me. Okay, so guys, I just wanted to say I'm seeing a lot of messages from Iranians in Persian. That's, the squiggly lines that you see on the live stream. And they're sending me messages in Persian. So if you can just indulge me for a moment, I'm just going to say something in Persian really quickly. I'll translate it afterwards. But I just want to respond to them really quick. And okay, so I just want to say really quickly درود به همه شما، سپاسگزار از پیاماتون. دوستان وقتی که به زبان فارسی پیام می نویسین من میتونم بخونم، برام مشکلی نیست، ولی خب رو لپتاپ هم نمیتونم به زبان فارسی تایپ بکنم. به خاطر این به زبان انگلیسی، حالا انگلیسی فارگلیسی هرچی میخواین بگین، فقط میتونم جوابتون رو اونطوری بدم، چون که این یعنی نمیتونم رو لپتاپم به زبان فارسی تایپ بکنم، فقط رو تلفنم و الان تو لایو استریم هستم. ولی خیلی خوش اومدید و به همه سوالاتونم جواب میدم. سپاسگزار. Okay, let's go back to the news.
For nearly 2 decades.
It appears that Democrats, members of the legacy media mob, are once again working together, but they're not circling the wagons around Graham Plattner. Instead, we're now witnessing the beginnings of what could soon be another political coup. The voters be.
So guys, I basically just said to, because there's a lot of new Iranians who are, not new, but Iranians who haven't tuned in for a while because the internet was shut down. They're messaging me in Persian, and I was just explaining to them that I can read their messages and I will respond, but I have to type in English. So if you guys see me typing in English, but you have no idea the words I'm saying, that's okay. It's because it's like a phonetic thing. I don't have the capability to type in Persian on my laptop.
Pollster, political analyst, Insider Advantage, Matt Towery, Kellyanne. Okay. No way in my heart, mind, and soul can I find this coming from Republicans. Interestingly, all of a sudden now, prominent Democrats, they're uncomfortable with Graham Plattner. MSDNC, all of a sudden uncomfortable with Graham Plattner. I don't know. Every instinct I have tells me Democrats want him off the ticket.
They may, Sean, but they're not uncomfortable enough. Remember, everybody who's a Republican anywhere had to disclaim David Duke, even if we never met him, had a meal with him, agreed with anything he said. I want every single Democrat who's running as a United States Senate candidate this year to step away from this guy, to tell him to get off the ticket. This guy needs to go and take care of his.
Guys, Mr. Smokes is asking a very, very good question. Mr. Smokes, I'm going to star your comment. I'll respond to it in a bit because I want to listen to this.
Family drama. We can't have him as one of 100 senators representing a country of 335 million. We can do better than that. Sean, I want to say something about Susan Collins, though. She served under 6 presidents. She votes with President Trump 90 to 95% of the time. When she disagrees, she makes that clear. She saved Brett Kavanaugh with that stirring speech on the Senate floor. She voted for the One Big Beautiful Bill. She's the only Republican United States senator in all of New England. And Kevin Corke said it, but this is important. You have 2 pollsters on the panel tonight. In 2020, not a single, Donald Trump can relate to this, not a single public poll shows Susan Collins winning. Colby, Quinnipiac, Boston Globe, New York Times, CNN, Emerson, you name it. They all had this guy Gideon beating her. She won by 8.6 points. It wasn't a squeaker. So they like to elevate and deify. Last thing, the same mainstream media and other Democrats who spend 3 years looking for Russia collusion, 3 years looking for Russia collusion, don't have a search bar. They don't have Google on their phones. You don't know anything about this guy that you're allowing to be your nominee next week for the United States Senate. He's unqualified. He's unsavory. He's disgusting. I want every Democrat, those Democrats in the Senate should not be able to run into the elevator and escape reporters' questions. They shouldn't say, oh, I didn't see the news today. They should have to say whether they're with this man or not, whether they want to serve with him or not, period.
All right, Matt, Democratic dirty trick, voters be damned once again.
Yeah, I think so. I would second what Kellyanne just said, and that is that Susan Collins, I'm not really concerned about Maine. I think I've said this many times on this network. I don't think it's going to be as big a deal as the Democrats and the Democratic-leaning media have tried to make it, partially because exactly what Kellyanne said. Collins is an excellent leader. She's also an excellent candidate, and she knows when to hold her cards, and she knows when to play them.
Oh,
the polling up there is horrible. And yes, these are the Democrats doing this. They want to get this guy out. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do it. The governor's still on the ballot, but that really doesn't mean anything because that vote is 7 days away. They have a ranked primary. The guy's going to end up being in first place in all likelihood. And unless he agrees to step down, they'll be stuck with him. And I agree with Kellyanne as well. These other U.S. Senate candidates and other candidates around the country ought to denounce him and step away from him, like the Republicans have been forced to do for so many years when issues like this have come up.
I wonder if Republicans, they have pickup opportunities, one in Georgia, one in New Hampshire, one in Michigan. Kellyanne, do you see any of them going Republicans' way?
They certainly could, but I want to warn everybody, too, whether it's Plattner or Mondami or Warnock, Ossoff, Warnock years ago, it's not enough to say how bad the other team is. I mean, New York overwhelmingly voted for this socialist who can't show up for the new cardinal swearing in, who's got Jewish Americans fearful in his city, who's terrible with all of his taxes and whatnot, nonsense, anti-police, and yet he got overwhelming. So we can't just say how bad the other side is, Sean. It tends to turn out the base for the left. We have to buoy our own candidates, and we have great candidates in all three of the races you just mentioned. Mike Rogers came this close to beating Alyssa Slotkin 2 years ago, and now he would go up against this Abdul El Sayed, who pals around with Hassan Piker, who goes around saying that, and I'm going to quote him, Hamas is 1,000 times better than Israel. We have a Sununu in New Hampshire. We're going to have a great candidate in Georgia. So, yes, I think if these Republicans go out there and crisply say, I would have voted for the one big, beautiful bill. I would have depreciation of factories and facilities. I'm against regulations for small business. I support the president in Iran, energy independence, all these great things the president has done that give these guys the blueprint to win.
What about New Hampshire, Matt? What about Georgia? What about Michigan? Do you see pickup opportunities there?
Well, right now, I'll tell you, Sean, it's too early for us to say. I'm concerned about one thing, and that is Republican turnout. In Georgia, Democrats turned out 150,000 more early voters than Republicans in the red state of Georgia. That's not a good sign to me. I think more has to be done now to lay the groundwork. And I also say one other thing. I don't think enough of President Trump's achievements are being put out there for the general public to see. They see this mirage that's created by the liberal media. They hear nothing but war. The president has achieved phenomenal things, including, by the way, the stock market hitting another record, I think, today. But you don't hear about it. And I think the Republicans need to start making that case, whether they have to buy ads or whatever, right now, because it's going to be too late in October and November.
All right, Matt Towery, Kellyanne, good to see you both. Thank you. Now, over the weekend, more hostile rhetoric and behavior from Iran's extremist leaders. The U.S. has now launched multiple strikes against threats inside of Iran over the last week, countering drone missiles attacks. Of course, a lot of it surrounding the Strait of Hormuz. According to President Trump, peace talks continue at a rapid pace, despite public statements from Iran to the contrary, claiming that they have been suspended. Here with reaction, Fox News senior strategic analyst, our friend General Jack Keane is with us. The president just put out, too, that he feels that the hardliners have been marginalized. You see the attacks. There's been 3 specific attacks that the president has ordered in the last week. How do you interpret what's happening? Where do you think this is going to land when all's said and done, General?
Yeah, well, first of all, the president is obviously sticking with the diplomatic path here, and he's trying to make it work. And to make it work, he's trying to get all the ceasefire violations under control. And what you're pointing to is that for several weeks now, the Iranians have been conducting attacks in the vicinity of the Straits of Hormuz and also against our U.S. bases and Gulf allies, all in violation of the ceasefire. Drone attacks to try to go after shipping, ballistic missile attacks going after bases, and we have defensively acted against those. What the president does, the way this works, he is giving full authority to Admiral Cooper, the Central Command commander. He doesn't have to ask permission to shoot at Iran because they're doing something aggressive or offensive. He has full authority to respond to that within the means that he wants to apply because they trust him. And that's the way President Trump has always worked with his military commanders. So, and Cooper's done a great job with that. And then we have the other piece of this. There was a ceasefire on April the 8th that goes overall dealing with Iran, and that's what Iran has been violating these last several weeks. But then there's another ceasefire, Sean, that dealt with Lebanon on April the 17th. And since April the 17th to date today, Hezbollah has fired 2,400 rockets and drones into northern Israel, so much so that the inhabitants of the northern towns and villages have had to evacuate. There's been 300 wounded civilians and 1 killed as a result of that. Inside Lebanon, there's been 14 IDF soldiers killed, all under the terms of agreement of a ceasefire. And that is absolutely ridiculous. And then the Iranians today got up on their high horse and said, well, we're not going to negotiate at all unless you curb Israel's behavior. I mean, that's pretty shocking, given the fact that Hezbollah has been violating the ceasefire and the Israelis are in a defensive crouch, not able to conduct offensive operations. The result of that is President Trump has brought both sides to a halt. At least we've got a verbal agreement. I know Israel will abide by that agreement. We have plenty of evidence since April the 17th that Hezbollah will not. And I'm assuming the president, if Hezbollah violates this like they have in the past, that he'll let Israel loose and do what they need to do.
They did violate it. That's
defend
the whole
themselves
point.
and also conduct some offensive operations to take this capability. Back to the main event, obviously, is trying to work through the diplomatic channels. And as you mentioned, the political side seems to be comfortable with trying to make a deal. The IRGC side, they are the ones who are doing all of what I just mentioned. They supervise and direct Hezbollah, and obviously the attacks in the Straits of Hormuz, the IRGC is doing that themselves. So yes, there seems to be a contradiction there between the political and the military. Now, the problem is IRG seems to have final control, at least with the Ayatollah, and it remains to be seen what happens here.
Well,
the president, I think, is doing the right thing in saying this. Look, I have some patience here. We're going to work through this thing. And he's going to give them ample opportunity to come together and make what he considers the perfect deal. And likely the reason why the MOU is held up, Sean, is over the Straits of Hormuz. Likely the words may not be exactly the way we want them because Iran wants to still maintain some control over it. Also, Iran has stated publicly many times they want money up front as a sign of goodwill, quote unquote. And President Trump's not going to do that. And I would imagine the Iranians have some words in the MOU that are not satisfactory to President Trump when it comes to nuclear, all things nuclear. So I think he said it may take another week to get the MOU. Remember, this is just a draft to go into a 60-day clock for negotiations. That's kind of where we are. The one thing I'd add to what I just said, Sean, you know this. The Iranians are playing a game here with us. They want to stretch this out as close to the midterms as they possibly can, believing that if they do so, it's less likely or not likely at all that the president would ever trigger military operations that close to the political event. That's likely a miscalculation. And because they don't know who Trump is. That's exactly what he did after the 60-day warning he gave Israel, he gave the Iranians prior to the 12-day war. On the 61st day, he green-lighted Israel to attack.
All right, General Jack Keane, great analysis as always. Thank you for being with us. When we come back, tensions in New Jersey, they are boiling over as anti-ICE agitators continue to wreak havoc outside an ICE detention facility. Last week, rioters, well, they bit, they kicked, they even punched agents. Steve Harrigan live on the ground with a report. Plus, we'll get an update from the one and only Tom Homan straight ahead.
Wow, that's wild. Okay, so I want to go to something that Marco Rubio said last month. This was on April 27. And this is really important because this statement from Marco Rubio is going to help you put everything into context. Because again, the purpose of my live streams, I'm not here to necessarily give you the breaking news because I'm not a reporter. I'm not a journalist, right? I'm a geopolitical analyst. I'm Iranian. I'm the first Iranian Canadian woman to be elected to office in Canada. I was in politics for 10 years. And so what I do in these live streams is I take the pre-existing news and I analyze it for you. And I take statements that people say and I give you my analysis or, my political translation, because as a former politician of 10 years, we are, and I'll say this openly and bluntly because I'm no longer a politician, right? So I'm here to give you all the inside scoop. We are trained to communicate in a certain way. That's literally it. We're literally trained to communicate in a certain way. And I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of what I mean. So, Canadians will appreciate this one 100%. And also, just a quick thing for some of the trolls who are like, Goldie, you're Canadian. Where's the Canadian flag in your background? Do you see the maple leaf? Yeah. Do you see the maple leaf? There you go. That's Canada right there. And this maple leaf was was at the top of the flagpole for one of my flagpoles in my office back when I was still an elected official. So there's Canada right there for all the trolls who are like, Goldie hates Canada. No, I don't. It's just my maple leaf is right there. Anyway, so I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about when I'm, referring to political speak. So a lot of times, because everyone knew that I'm from Toronto and the hockey team in Toronto is the Leafs. And I was representing a riding, or in American, they say district, but I was representing a riding in Ottawa. And the hockey team in Ottawa is the Ottawa Sens, the Senators. And there is a huge rivalry between the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Ottawa Senators. Now, I personally, having grown up in Toronto, huge fan of the Leafs. I know they're terrible. We're not going to get into a whole sports thing right now, but I just, if there's a hockey game between the Leafs and the Sens, I'm always going to root for the Leafs because that's just, it is what it is. And actually there are a lot of Leafs fans in my former riding of Carleton, but that's a whole other story. But let me get to the political part. So one of the most frequent questions as a politician that I would get asked is, Goldie, do you support the Leafs or the Sens? Right? And this is what I mean when, politicians are trained to speak a certain way. Because I knew that in the district that I was representing, there are hockey fans that support both teams, right? Both the Leafs and the Sens. In that Ottawa district, my response would always be, like, I would never say who I support because I don't know who I'm dealing with, right? I don't know which side they support. So whenever someone asks me, Goldie, do you support the Leafs or the Sens? I would always respond with, regardless of who we support, the one thing that I can say as a fact is that Leafs fans and Senators fans, we're both united in our mutual hatred for the Habs being the Montreal Canadiens. So every time, that's how I would get out of answering the question. So, and no one ever questioned me on that. Like, as soon as I would give that answer, people would be like, wow, you're absolutely right. You know what I mean? Because both Leafs fans and Senators fans are, the one thing that they can, it's totally a politician answer. But do you see how I sort of diverted, right? Like, instead of answering the question that was asked, I would give an answer that I knew would still satisfy the person asking the question, but I wouldn't actually answer the question itself. So that's what I mean when I say, when it comes to politics and politicians, that's why it's my area of expertise, because I've been there. I've literally lived that life for 10 years. And I was really good at it too. I was very good at communications and deciphering and all of that stuff. But 100%. Politics 101. You never answer the question if you know the question's gonna if you know the answer is going to cause issues, or you answer in a way basically it's like if someone asks you a question that you don't want to answer, you answer in a different way. And we've seen President Trump do that a lot. But having said that, I want to go to this statement from Marco Rubio from a month ago, because you have to remember that just recently, I can't remember when it was like a few weeks ago, maybe a few weeks ago. I'm trying to remember when it was. I think it was right before. Oh, you know what? It might have been right before there was a delegation sent to Pakistan, and then it didn't work out or something. I can't remember. Or maybe it was right after. I don't know. But anyway, so I remember someone asked President Trump, what role does Marco Rubio play in the negotiations with the Islamic regime occupying Iran? And I could tell that President Trump didn't really want to answer that question because I think the delegation or team or whatever that was, openly and publicly going to go negotiate with the terrorists, it didn't include Marco Rubio. So someone was asking President Trump, well, what role does Marco Rubio play? And President Trump responded with, well, Marco Rubio plays a really important role behind the scenes. And not a lot of people paid attention to that. This is why I literally will sit and watch every single second of these press conferences and statements and committee hearings and whatever, because when you get these little sound bites, that's just what the media wants you to hear. That's just what certain people want you to hear. If you want to know what's actually going on, and if you want the entire picture, you have to be able to go and watch every single second of every single statement, because you can only get the full and complete picture when you are able to that's basically how you get the full and complete picture, right? You can't get a complete picture unless and until you watch every single of these press conferences and see what people are saying. And that's why I believe we're in the end game. And there's a lot of people right now, for some reason, and this is what's really interesting to me, for some reason within the last 24 to 48 hours, there's been a lot of rhetoric and a lot of it seems like the media and these pundits are pushing this narrative of moderate versus hardliner, right, within the Islamic regime, as if one Muslim Nazi is better than the other Muslim Nazi, right? They're pushing that narrative. And for those who have not been paying attention to, all the details, or for those people who maybe are just, looking at one particular statement and freaking out, I encourage you to take a step back and look at the entire picture. And we're going to start with a statement that Marco Rubio made just over a month ago, back on April 27. And this clip was actually posted by the Department of State. So that basically means that the United States government wants you to watch this clip and wants you to pay attention to what Marco Rubio is saying. So let's see what Marco Rubio is saying in this clip.
The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk about moderates and hardliners. They're all hardliners in Iran.
Did you catch that? Let's play that again. Let's play that again.
The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk about moderates and hardliners. They're all hardliners in Iran.
He's not mincing words, is he? Marco Rubio, over a month ago. Marco, guys, I have such a good memory. I don't, maybe this is why I'm so good at geopolitics and political analysis, because I remember these things. I have a knack for remembering these things, right? Don't ask me what I ate for breakfast yesterday. I have no idea. I don't even think I didn't even eat breakfast yesterday. Don't ask me what I ate for breakfast yesterday. Don't ask me what I watched, like, I don't know, 3 hours ago. But for some reason, when it comes to these sorts of things, like, I remember it all. I might not remember the date. I might not remember when it was said, but I remember it. And I remembered this. Back on April 27, Marco Rubio, who, by the way, just a few weeks later, when the media asked President Trump, how involved is Marco Rubio in the negotiations? Because, Marco Rubio is not going anywhere. Marco Rubio doesn't really seem to be front and center. So the media, American media, I think President Trump was in the Oval Office at the time for some, executive order or something. And the media asked President Trump, how involved is Marco Rubio in the negotiations? And President Trump said, he's very involved. Marco Rubio is heavily involved behind the scenes. If I was a betting person, I'm not into gambling and betting, but if I was, I would bet that the person who's actually in charge of the Iran file is Marco Rubio. 100%. Guaranteed. Well, I mean, I can't guarantee anything, but, I would say like 99.99% certain that Marco Rubio is responsible for running the Iran file. And that's because for Marco Rubio, it's personal. The Islamic regime has been working closely with the communist regime in Cuba, helping to turn Cuba into a failed state, right? So Marco Rubio knows exactly what's going on. Marco Rubio understands how the Islamic regime operates. Marco Rubio knows how to deal with these sorts of regimes. And let me just share something else as well. Marco Rubio met with His Royal Highness, the Shah of Iran, Reza Pahlavi, as early as 2021 to discuss U.S. policy towards Iran, as well as the ongoing egregious human rights violations committed by the regime in Tehran. This meeting was back in 2021. Okay. Right? So I want you to keep that in mind. And this isn't something that His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi posted. This is Marco Rubio's post. Marco Rubio, when the Shah of Iran met with Marco Rubio back in 2021 to talk about Iran and the Islamic regime and what's going on, we're talking 5 years ago. Marco Rubio at the time posted the picture, right? So what you're seeing happening today, guys, this is not something that's just popped up or something that's just happening. I mean, for many of you, and I understand for many of you, obviously this is, new because many of you haven't really thought about or focused on Iran or the Islamic regime or the Iranian people's fight to overthrow the terrorist regime, or even, who even Reza Pahlavi is. And that's one of the reasons why you are tuning in to, my YouTube channel, so that you can get the DL. Because again, I'm not here to give you the breaking news. The breaking news is available. Anyone can comment on that. I'm here to give you the insider perspective. I'm here to give you the political analysis. I'm here to give you the big picture by showing you all the links and all the connections. So this is where we want to start, right? And I'm actually really glad that you guys are all here, because this is info you're not really going to find anywhere else. And guys, I could talk about Iran and the Islamic regime and the revolution and all that for hours and hours and hours. So I'm so glad that you're all here so we can go on this journey together. And I do see your super chats. We will get to them in a little bit. I just kind of want to go through my analysis as to why we're in the end game. There's a number of factors for that, and we will get into that. But I really want to start off with this because this is important. So Marco Rubio, we already know, has met with King Reza Pahlavi, right? So I would say, I mean, I don't speak with King Reza Pahlavi's office or Marco Rubio's office, but I would say that there's probably some sort of communication happening behind the scenes, right? And we also know that President Trump just a few weeks ago said that Marco Rubio is heavily involved in the Iran situation, but behind the scenes. And then we have this, once again, this clip where Marco Rubio a month ago very clearly and unequivocally said that there are no moderates in the Islamic regime. There are only hardliners, okay? And I'm gonna explain why this is significant.
The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk about moderates and hardliners. They're all hardliners in Iran. But there are hardliners who understand they have to run a country and an economy, and there are hardliners that are completely motivated by theology. The hardliners that are motivated by theology are not just the IRGC officials, but obviously the supreme leader and the council. The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class.
Why did they cut this off? We should... I should see if I can find the whole clip, because then you can get the boom boom bingo sheet. So the Department of State only posted that, but here, let me see if I can find the whole interview, because I think you guys would benefit from the whole interview. Let me see if I can find it. So right, Rubio, April 27. Let's see if I can find it. Huh. Oh, wow. Okay, is it this one? Let me see. Ooh. I think I might have found it. Yeah, okay, I found it. I found it, guys. Here we go. Don't worry, all good. I found the full clip for you. So this interview is really important because this is going to give you insight and context into what's happening right now and why I personally believe. Now, again, I could be wrong. I don't know. I could be wrong. But I believe there's a reason why we're seeing this narrative, this false narrative of moderates versus hardliners. being pushed in the mainstream media when Marco Rubio, who is pretty much in charge of the Iran file, I believe, knows full well that there is no difference. I think there's a reason for that, and we'll get into that. But let's play this video first.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio sitting down exclusively with Fox, discussing the latest on the Middle East, as well as the ongoing situation in Latin America.
The man who interviewed him, Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yinks, joins us now with more. Hey, Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. Secretary of State Marco Rubio indicated that both Israel and Lebanon want peace, but it's the Iran-backed Lebanese militant group Hezbollah that is getting in.
Guys, sorry. So just for like the breaking news updates here, like this is from over a month ago, so that's not relevant. Let's get to the Marco Rubio interview again. So this interview was conducted on April 27.
Hezbollah has routinely launched attacks against Israeli civilians along the border. They have fired thousands of rockets into Israel. Are you open to a scenario where Israel maintains a buffer zone indefinitely?
No, I don't think the Israelis want it indefinitely. I think if you ask the Israelis, they would tell you the perfect outcome is a strong Lebanese government with a strong Lebanese armed forces who is able to dismantle Hezbollah, to prevent them from these attacks and ultimately to make sure that they don't exist anymore as a military unit. That's the ideal outcome that the Israelis want. I think that's what the Lebanese want. I think the problem we face right now in the short term is the Lebanese armed forces, while they may have willingness, do not at this moment have full capability to address all of the threats that are emanating from Hezbollah inside of Lebanon.
The secretary and I also spoke about a variety of other topics, including Iran, China, and Cuba. He called Cuba a failed state and spoke about the national security threats it poses to the United States.
The other thing is it can get better. But in order for it to get better, they do need very substantial and serious economic reforms. Those serious economic reforms are impossible with these people in charge. It can't happen. And these people in charge aren't just economically incompetent. They have rolled out the welcome mat to adversaries of the United States to operate within Cuban territory against our national interest with impunity. We are not going to have a foreign military or intelligence or security apparatus operating with impunity 90 miles off the shores of the United States. That's not going to happen under President Trump.
When it comes to threats against the United States, the secretary also spoke about the issue of Iran, saying the Trump administration will not allow the Iranian regime to use the Strait of Hormuz as an economic nuclear weapon against the world. Guys?
You know, it's interesting, Trey. I saw you last night, this great interview. That you made a lot of progress and a lot of news. The one thing with Cuba, do you get the sense that that's his portfolio, that that's the first thing when he opens up his folder that he's focusing on these days?
I get the sense that the secretary is looking at a variety of threats against the United States, and he understands the proximity of Cuba and why that is an important discussion to have. But also, more broadly, we talked about Iran, and I think this was really the focus of our interview, understanding that there are questions about whether or not Operation Epic Fury will resume. And these talks with Iran that were set to take place over the weekend were canceled by President Trump because he could see that the regime was not serious at that moment about making a good faith deal. The sense that I got was that the secretary understands who he's dealing with on the other side of the negotiating table, and that the United States during this administration is not going to be spun at the negotiating table. And so moving forward, there are a variety of foreign policy issues, I think, on the mind of the secretary, whether it's Cuba, China, or Iran, and a variety of questions about how the administration will move forward. But he said ultimately it will be up to President Trump as to make decisions when it comes to deciding between diplomacy and military action.
Yeah, Trey, they don't have any room for their oil. They're running out of space.
Right. Sorry, is this the part? I think I might have missed it.
Poses to the United States.
I was responding to some questions.
The other thing is it can get better. But in order for it to get better, they do need very substantial and serious economic reforms. Those serious economic reforms are impossible with these people in charge. It can't happen. And these people in charge aren't just economically incompetent. They have rolled out the welcome mat to adversaries of the United States to operate within Cuban territory against our national interest with impunity. We are not going to have a foreign military or intelligence or security apparatus operating with impunity 90 miles off the shores of the United States. That's not going to happen under President Trump.
When it comes to threats against the United States, the secretary also spoke about the issue of Iran, saying the Trump administration will not allow the Iranian regime to use the Strait of Hormuz as an economic nuclear weapon against the world. Guys?
You know, it's interesting, Trey. I saw you last night, this great interview.
That
You made a lot of progress and a lot of news. The one thing with Cuba, do you get the sense that that's his portfolio, that that's the first thing?
I found it, but I don't know if it's like, oh, geez, it's not available in my region. All right, can't find it. So guys, all we have is that clip then, because I'm sorry. It's my fault. I don't live in the States, so I can't share that with you. But anyways, so going back to the original statement from Marco Rubio back on April 27, so he did say that there are no moderates or hardliners. They're all hardliners, except some of them are, you know, religious and military hardliners, and others are, you know, economic hardliners, where they're a little bit more like, you know, pragmatic, but they're all hardliners. They're all terrorists, right? So Marco Rubio already knows that the Islamic regime are all terrorists. So then you start asking yourself, well, then why is it? Why is it that we're starting to see this narrative in, you know, the mainstream media being pushed about, well, you know, we have the moderates and the hardliners and this and that, and oh, you know, we're trying to make a deal with the moderates, but the hardliners are getting in the way. Well, the reason that I think that's happening is because this is just another tactic to pit the Islamic regime and the various factions within the Islamic regime against one another. Don't forget, guys, don't forget, this is a very, very important clue into the state of the Islamic regime. Let me pull up this piece of news from a few days ago, because it's not getting that much attention, and it really should. Because if you want to understand what's going on in the Islamic regime, this is what you need to watch. So, yesterday, the president of the Islamic regime, now let me bring up my boom boom bingo sheet here, okay? Let me bring up the boom boom Durka jihadi bingo sheet, because now we're kind of going to get into what I like to call Game of Durka, which is pretty much like Game of Thrones, but for the Islamic regime. And anyone who's watched Team America World Police, they'll get the Durka reference, because that's where the whole Durka reference comes from. But here is the boom boom Durka jihadi bingo sheet, okay? Let me just bring it on this side so I can see it more clearly. All right. So this is our boom boom Durka jihadi bingo sheet. When you have people in the media cycle within the last, let's say, 24 to 48 hours, they're pushing this narrative of, oh, you know, moderates versus hardliners, right? Who are they actually speaking about? Well, the moderate that they're referring to is Ghalibaf, okay? The so-called moderate. The guy, first of all, the guy's not a moderate. So I just want to make that very clear. That's not the language that I use, because there are no moderates in the Islamic regime. You know, ultimately, every single one of these people on the Durka Boom Boom Jihadi bingo sheet, they're all terrorists. They're all Muslim Nazis. And as we all know, there are no good Nazis, right? A Nazi is a Nazi is a Nazi. It's just a matter of what are their priorities, right? And that's what Marco Rubio was talking about in that clip on X, right? So when Marco Rubio was saying, you know, there are no moderates, there are just hardliners. And then he says, so let me show you what he means. Because when he says a part, I'll pause and then I'll go to the Boom Boom Durka Bingo Jihadi sheet and I'll show you who he's referring to. Oh, wait, I got to push play here.
The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk.
So when he says political class, okay, where'd it go? So let me just fix this here. So Marco Rubio says the best way to understand Iran is that there's a political class, okay? So here's the Boom Boom Durka Jihadi bingo sheet. So this is pretty much the political class. Okay, this is a political class here, plus, the rest of the Durka jihadis who aren't as important to be on the Boom Boom bingo sheet. So here's the political class that Marco Rubio is talking about. Okay, so
is you have the best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk about moderates and hardliners. They're all hardliners.
Right? So what Marco Rubio is saying is that when you're looking at the Boom Boom Durka Jihadi bingo sheet, there are no moderates versus hardliners. Every single person on the Boom Boom Durka Jihadi bingo sheet is a hardliner. Okay? So there is no difference. This is what Marco Rubio is referring to. This sheet right here, right? They're all hardliners, every single one of them. Okay? Oh, okay. Wait, sorry guys. Bisa? Oh man. Wow, guys, we are getting actual Durka jihadi trolls who are posting Durka jihadi stuff in Persian. Okay, let me just say something really, really quick. Let me just find this. Let me just say something in Persian really quick. Wow, guys, now that the internet's back on, all like the Islamic regime terrorists are coming in to this English live stream, and they're literally they're posting in Persian. Wow, okay. Sorry. Let me just mention where's the comment here? Where is it? What? Okay. There we go. So سارا جون دیدم که شما دارین به زبان فارسی صحبت میکنین، جواب اون ارزشی رو دادین. سارا جون لطفاً اگه ارزشی چیزی دیدین به زبان فارسی اگه پست کردن میتونید بینشون بکنید. سپاسگزار. دیگه چون که من نمیتونم همشون رو ببینم، ولی انگار ارزشی ها خیلی دارن ار میکنن. انگار ارزشی ها یه جوری نگران شدن. مرسی. سپاس از حمایتتون. Okay, so yeah, guys, we're literally getting trolls that support the Islamic regime posting in Persian. But anyways, I have some people who are going to, ban anyone who is attacking Trump or King Reza Pahlavi or whatever the case might be in Persian. All right. Okay. Yeah. So, all right. Anyways. Oh, okay. So Kat saying, can you tweet the Durka chart? I can't find. Yeah, sure. So here's the link. I know that people have saved it, but let me just, I'll put it in all the chats, and on the live stream as well. So there you go. I put the link to all of the here, I put the link in all the chats. Okay. All right. So Anyways, going back to Marco Rubio. So Marco Rubio, when he says there are no moderates, they're all hardliners, he's literally referring to everyone here, right? So no moderates, they're all hardliners, okay? So keep that in mind.
Moderates and hardliners, they're all hardliners in Iran. But there are hardliners who understand they have to run a country and an economy.
Okay, so now Marco Rubio is saying they're all hardliners. They're all hardliners in Iran, okay? So there are no good Nazis. They're all bad. They're all bad. But then he says, but there are some hardliners who understand that you have to run a country and, economics and things like that. Who could he be speaking about? Oh, my browser lost connection to audio. All right, give me a moment here. Let me reconnect my browser. So, who do you think, guys, who do you think Marco Rubio is speaking about when he says there are some hardliners who are more threatened, hardliners who are more focused on the economy? No, not the Atish. It's Ghalibaf. This guy, right? Ghalibaf. This is the guy that right now the media is claiming, right, that is supposedly a moderate, right? But Marco Rubio, over a month ago, already knew what kind of person Ghalibaf was, right? So let's go back. This is how Marco Rubio describes Ghalibaf, the moderate.
Hardliners in Iran. But there are hardliners who understand they have to run a country and an economy.
There are hardliners who understand that you have to run a country and an economy. That is Ghalibaf. Okay? So he is a hardliner who's more of a pragmatist, right? Because he's more concerned about the long term. He probably sees that the end of the Islamic regime is near. He probably sees that they're in the end game, right? He is an intelligent person. Now that's not me complimenting him. No, because there are villains. Some villains are intelligent and some villains are stupid. He's one of the intelligent ones. That's why he's portraying himself as a moderate. However, keep in mind that over a month ago, Marco Rubio called him out without saying his name, because Marco Rubio knew where this was going. Okay. So let's continue. So this is the the economic person that's a hardliner. So what other hardliners are there, right? So who is he comparing them to then?
And there are hardliners that are completely motivated by theology.
Hardliners completely motivated by theology. Who do you think that could be, guys? Who do you think is completely motivated by theology? I'll give you a hint. It's the guy with the skid mark on his forehead, remember? It's the guy who runs the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps currently, who's got the skid mark on his forehead because he's basically, he's trying to show how religiously devout he is, right? So skid mark guy is one of them. Who else? There's Toib. Of course, anyone with a turban, any one of them that has a turban is obviously, theology. Yeah, there you go. So that's just, and then of course, these people, and then everyone in Mujtaba's office as well. But the big one that you need to be focusing on, motivated by theology, is forehead skid mark guy. Vahidi, right? So essentially, what Marco Rubio was saying over a month ago, back on April 27th, is that there are no moderates in the Islamic regime. There are only hardliners. But there are some hardliners who understand that in order to survive, they need to run the country, right? Like Ghalibaf. And then there are other hardliners who are completely motivated by theocracy and religion. And those are the Durka jihadis who think that they can somehow defeat the United States and believe that they have like this, anyways, insane. So that's what Marco Rubio was saying over a month ago, right? He was talking about Ghalibaf and Vahidi. So now let's go back and we're going to watch this clip in its entirety without me interrupting, because now you guys know who
motivated by theology.
So wait, what's going on here? Okay. So now we're going to go back and watch this full clip, because now you have the background info. Now you know who Marco Rubio is referring to. And you also know that Marco Rubio, as confirmed by President Trump, is the one who's probably really pulling the strings on the Iran file behind the scene, which is going to lead us to the next part of my analysis. Well, why is there this sudden talk about moderate versus hardliner? So let's watch this and we'll continue.
The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk about moderates and hardliners. They're all hardliners in Iran. But there are hardliners who understand they have to run a country and an economy, and there are hardliners that are completely motivated by theology. The hardliners that are motivated by theology are not just the IRGC officials, but obviously the supreme leader and the council.
There you go.
The best way to...
Okay, so keep that in mind. Now, I want to go to where was it? It was posted earlier, and we didn't get to watch the entire, oh, here we go. We didn't get to watch this entire compilation earlier today on Iran Revolution Live, but I really, really wanted to watch the entire thing. There's also apparently some new videos by Mark Levin from yesterday that I want to get into as well. But I want you to pay close attention to the current narrative in the media, while keeping in mind what Secretary of State Marco Rubio said over a month ago about how he's confirming there are no moderates or hardliners. They're all hardliners, right? So just keep that in mind.
Right to Alex Hogan, who is live in D.C. with the latest on Iran. Good morning, Alex. Good morning. So U.S. Central Command made this announcement just hours ago, saying American forces carried out strikes this weekend, bombing Iranian radar and drone control sites in Gorak, Iran, and Qasem Island. And according to Central Command, the measured and deliberate strikes occurred on Saturday and Sunday in response to aggressive...
Guys, oh my gosh! Gandalf is here! Where's Gandalf? Guys, so Gandalf is one of our amazing community members and also a mod from inside of occupied Iran. Gandalf, we haven't seen you in forever. So Gandalf says, Durud Hamihan, sorry I wasn't here for the last 3-4 days. First of all, you never need to apologize, Gandalf. Internet problems, hard to connect securely though. Love you all. Oh, we love you too, Gandalf. We missed you. I'm so happy to see that, you're safe and you're doing well. Oh my gosh, Gandalf. Always, like your safety comes first, right? So we're always so happy to hear from you. Thank you for being here, but please be safe. Be safe. Okay, let's continue.
Iranian actions that included the shootdown of a U.S. MQ-1 drone that was operating over international waters. U.S. fighter aircraft swiftly responded by eliminating Iranian air defenses, a ground control station, and 2 one-way attack drones that pose clear threats to ships transiting regional waters. And now Kuwait says it's intercepting incoming drone and missile fire. That comes as Iran confirmed it carried out retaliatory strikes today. And Iran's Revolutionary Guard today says the source of that is what it calls U.S. attacks on a telecommunication tower. President Trump met with advisors in the Situation Room here at the White House here in Washington on Friday, but had yet to make an announcement over the weekend over how to move forward. Overnight, he posted on Truth Social, writing in part, Iran really wants to make a deal, and it will be a good one for the USA and those that are with us. Both the U.S. and Iran have exchanged strikes since the ceasefire started in early April. It's not clear yet how these strikes will impact the ongoing negotiations to end the war that has now stretched 3 months. Todd, Ashley.
Okay, Alex, thank you. CENTCOM confirming the U.S. military has struck more Iranian targets after the downing of an American drone as the U.S.-Iran ceasefire is once again tested. President Trump commenting on negotiations with Tehran with Fox's Lar Trump.
We're making a great deal. We're going to make a great deal. Other, we'll just go back and finish it off militarily. We're getting what we want slowly. Very tough negotiators. It takes a long time. I'm in no hurry. I'd like to say I'm in a hurry because, you know, gasoline prices are going to come tumbling down. But if you're going to be in a hurry, you're not going to make a good deal. And slowly but surely, we're getting, I think, what we want. And if we don't get what we want, we're going to end it a different way.
Joining us today to discuss this is the former Deputy National Security Advisor for VP Cheney, Steve Yates. Steve, thanks for getting up and talking to us about this. You heard Trump just there say he was in no hurry to get a deal done. Do you think this is what the Iranians are kind of banking on? Because before you know it, we're going to be in August and September, then there's midterms, and we're still left with these high gas prices.
Well, the Iranian regime, the remnants of it, definitely have as part of their strategy playing for time. But the president is exercising a patient approach that I don't think very many of his critics would have assumed he would have in his toolkit. We have maximum pressure from the economic policy side of things, military side of things, and he's tried to move forward with a different kind of diplomatic strategy, making sure that allies in the region are prepared to carry forward what I would consider to be maintenance mode. And I think what we saw over the weekend is a little bit what that maintenance mode would look like. If you have remnants of a regime, when you have a regime that size, its military capabilities are never going to go to zero. But when they act out in ways.
Sorry, guys. I think there might be someone who's trying to join. I don't know. Sorry, give me one moment here. All right, sorry, I'll continue this, but all right, this is interesting. I'll keep you guys posted.
That challenge freedom of navigation, use the tentacles of terror, or look like they're both going back to resume the nuclear program, then they'll be hit by us or an ally to try to keep things on course. So I think that's what the president's gradualism is aimed at. I certainly hope that the Strait is open very, very soon and that the pressure campaign is working. At this point, it's hard to watch from the outside because we just can't have certainty. But I think the correlation of power is the right mix at this point.
You know, Steve, a few different outlets reporting this weekend that, you know, this move is more about specifics of how the U.S. gets the material and the timing, and that's in the reference to enriched uranium. And they're also wanting to amend some of the wording and language around opening the Strait of Hormuz. How important is that?
Well, I think facts on the ground are going to matter much more than the wording of agreements. And that's going to come ultimately by this coalition of power that the president is exercising and basically forcing these things to move forward the right way. We have more time when it comes to trying to deal with the ultimate disposition of this very degraded nuclear program. It's a concern, but it's one of those things that it's much, much more important that we continue to degrade the IRGC, this military capability of Iran, and make sure that is in check. That is sort of the tallest tent pole in the Iranian tent at this point. The civilian leadership is degraded. The mullahs, we haven't even had a proof of life out of the new Ayatollah in a while. It's the IRGC that we're trying to influence and contain at this point. I think that has to be mission number one.
You know, we talk a lot about the Strait of Hormuz, and in the news media and politicians, they just assume that the average American knows what those words mean and what they are. But in all reality, they don't. So paint us a picture, if you could quickly, of if we don't have a deal made by September, August, around that time, what the next year could look like for us here in America.
Well, the Strait of Hormuz is a faraway place. People can be excused for not thinking about it, but it's a very narrow passage where a high percentage of oil, natural gas, and other commodities will transit. It tends to feed world markets. That matters to Americans, even though we have an abundance. If world prices are high, then the abundance we have will get sold to those international markets. That's the way free markets are going to work, and that means prices can still be high for us. But ultimately, I think if the president gets the right allies, our Arab allies and others, to step in and execute on what maintenance needs to look like in this region, that frees America up to focus on our prosperity, other challenges around the world, say a revisionist China trying to challenge us on economic competition and national security challenges in the Indo-Pacific.
You know, and then there's also the question, just because Tehran agrees to this and Iran agrees to this, who's to say they're even going to stick to it?
My assumption is that they won't, and that's why I think that the coalition of power has to remain in place. We can change what the balance of that is in terms of the expense and the presence of America, but the United States under President Trump's leadership has proven that we can come from this side of the world and strike decisively targets anywhere in the world without them knowing we're coming or going. And if we arm and work with our other allies, they have the capability to take better care of their neighborhood. I think we're getting close to that mix. I think the last piece of this has to be the insurers. That's where the financial part of the world has to make it affordable for the shippers to take the necessary risk to actually move their cargo. That has been, I think, a missing link in the last couple of months. It has to happen soon.
Okay. Steve Yates, thank you so much for your time this morning. We appreciate it.
9 minutes after the top of the hour, CENTCOM confirming the U.S. carried out strikes on more Iranian targets over the weekend.
But the president says that Iran still wants to make a deal as the fragile ceasefire remains on edge.
So Chief Foreign Correspondent Trey Yingst is live in Tel Aviv with the latest. Trey.
Yeah, hey guys, good morning. CENTCOM says U.S. forces conducted strikes against multiple Iranian targets over the weekend. The strikes hit Iranian radar systems and command and control centers for drones in Gulruk, Iran, along the coast and on Keshem Island. CENTCOM described the action as defensive in nature to prevent Iran from attacking international shipping lanes and after Iran shot down a $4 million U.S. drone. The Iranians responded by targeting Kuwait with drones and missiles early this morning. Overnight, President Trump posted to Truth Social saying, in part, Iran really wants to make a deal.
Guys, we have a very special guest who is joining us.
درود
پوتیپتو چطوری؟
من عالیم شما چطور هستین؟
I'm doing great. این وقت شب بیداری چی کار میکنی؟ It's way past your bedtime, Petito.
Actually, it's near morning here. The sun already rise in my place.
You're right. Okay, so
I have a long night. Thank you.
How are you doing? Are you safe?
Yes, I'm safe. I have a very long night. And before I go to bed, actually, I checked and I saw your on a stream. So I decided to spend some time with you. And as always, my pleasure to be with you and your audience.
Thank you, Petito. So, you know what? I only saw you by chance because I was like, I'll say this in Persian. داشتم استریم فردا رو برای ایران رولوشن لایو می‌خواستم ستاپ بکنم، به خاطر این رفتم تو استودیو، دیدم اونجا بودی، چون من الان توی استودیو دیگه ام، چون این یه برنامه دیگه است ولی خب پخش زنده است. پس لطفاً هر وقت که می‌خواستی بیای، حالا حتما برای من یه پیامی چیزی هم بفرست که اگه مثلا تو ایران رولوشن لایو نیستم توی استودیو دیم، چون این برنامه خودمه که مثلا خودم قبلا انجام دادم، ولی خب of course you're always welcome. So wow, okay, so Petito, please give us the latest news from inside of Iran. We always want to hear from you.
Situation in Iran actually is like shape shifting, and I saw people and I saw mainstream and everybody talks. It's like shape shifting from synergic talks from we are doomed and then change to we are going to win. But the frequency of this changing is lowering. As I want to tell you, people are going to stay in hope more than last days, and
Yeah.
I think some signs and some cracks are making people in disbelief, going to see what's happening, and I can feel everybody believing that we are not doomed, at least. And the most important thing I saw and everybody asking from me is changing from is going to be a deal, or is the Islamic regime is going to stay, is changing to what we are going to do, what we are going to do, what's the plan. So what if this plan work, what if after the regime we what we must to do, and hearing these questions, making a bigger picture for me that whole idea are going to no matter of what's happening for war or what's happening in the news, is going to actually people are in a state of boredom in the last few months, a few weeks at least. So this boredom are changing their attitude to taking an action, and it's the best thing that can happen for us right now.
So, guys, just to kind of like provide some context, when Petito says people are in a state of boredom, it's because people are kind of waiting for the boom booms to resume, right? So that's what sort of the boredom is coming from, because obviously there's a lot happening in occupied Iran, but yeah, like Iranians, if you recall, the messages that we were getting from inside of occupied Iran was that they felt more happy and more relieved and less stressed when they could hear the sound of the explosions. Now, Petito, I have a question for you, because there's now there's been this whole talk about President Trump's gonna sign this deal and this deal and this deal, but part of the terms of that deal, Petito, is that the Islamic regime would have to agree for the United States to go into occupied Iran in order to take the enriched uranium that is buried under the rubble. Okay, so that's one of the terms of the deal that President Trump has said is non-negotiable. What is the likelihood of the Islamic regime agreeing to allowing the United States to go in and remove the nuclear dust?
Actually, Goldie, I have a thing on that matter, and I'm reading the comments, and as always, I see comments that blaming President Trump or blaming some other chain effect. In context of your question, I want to point out that our situation, everybody in our side, includes me, you, our audience, other patriots around the world. Our situation is like we are in front of a biggest screen flat TV, and starting to move towards the TV. So we are so close to TV that actually we can look the pixels of the TV, and in that state, in that situation, we have a lot of question about what's happening in the whole picture. But actually, the answer is everything in its right place, but our vision or POV or point of view needs to be changed. So if I want to help you shift your point of view at the moment, I want to address the fact that President Trump is always tells us, always said that we are going to win. Okay, and the situation, the mass domino of every chain reaction and chain effect that happens after the 7th of October. Uh, After that, these are great and big picture. So if we're going to zoom in the pixels, we are going to get distracted or get uncomfortable. But at this very moment right now, I want to address the fact that the biggest IRGC tactic or a strategy that they were always talking about, that the analysis in TV, in Western media, and big YouTubers are always make it like a undefeatable strategy, was asymmetrical warfare. As we saw and as we heard and as what happened, the whole strategy of IRGC was mass production of the drones and low cost armors that can overwhelm the defensive system or attack system of offensive system of Israel and USA. But this strategy, when is going this strategy is going to win when the other side, uh, Israel and USA, going to make the war longer, and war happen for longer time, because the costs of the war is going to overflow, and the war is going to be bad and bad economy machine. But at this very moment, right at the 40 days of attack and 40 days of suppression and overwhelming IRGC weak points, after that very moment, that if you can study or if you research about this point, at the very moment that U.S. Army and Israeli Army actually overcome to IRGC Army, at that very moment, the war needed to be stopped, because if you take the main gun of terrorists, so these terrorists have nothing to create fear and live among us. So at that moment, to the next moment, terrorists of IRGC are panicking and don't know what to do. So this is the recipe for disaster, for chaotic systems, and the chaotic system of IRGC that especially right now is without any leadership or any organized system. This is a recipe for demolish and this distortion of this system. So if you do the mathematics, you can understand the best situation for U.S. Army and President Trump or everyone in our side is to have IRGC and Iranian states actually occupiers in the chokehold and let them to tear each other's apart. This chain reactions is going to have other effects. So the mass effects are have more speed. So every day that we pass through this chokehold is another proof that IRGC and Islamic regime will going to fall soon. I hope you understand my idea. So I try my best to make connection through my words.
Patibto, your English has improved a lot. And, well, I mean, your English has always been great. But what I can say is that I feel like you've become much more comfortable in speaking in English on this live stream from when you first came on. So, no, that was fantastic. That was amazing. And I actually do have some questions for you. But let me just share my analysis really briefly because I was about to get to the next part, and so let me just kind of bring you up to speed. So, right now in the news, in the media, we're starting to hear in the last 24 to 48 hours this false narrative of moderates versus hardliners, right? And they're trying to say that Ghalibaf is a moderate, and Vahidi and others is a hardliner. But here's the interesting thing. Over a month ago, Marco Rubio said that there are no moderates or hardliners inside of Iran. They're all hardliners. It's just some of them are hardliners who are focused on running the country. And then there are others who are hardliners who are focused on, of course, the theology and the religion and the clerics. So let me just share this again one more time.
The best way to understand Iran is you have a political class. Now, I think, look, people talk about moderates and hardliners. They're all hardliners in Iran. But there are hardliners who understand they have to run a country and an economy, and there are hardliners that are completely motivated by theology. The hardliners that are motivated by theology are not just the IRGC officials, but obviously the supreme leader and the council.
So that's what Marco Rubio said about just over a month ago. And then a few weeks ago, someone asked President Trump, well, how involved is Marco Rubio in all of this Iran stuff? And President Trump said Marco Rubio is very involved behind the scenes. Now, Patibto, I can't confirm this, but I have a feeling that if there's one person who's responsible for the entire Iran file, it's probably Marco Rubio. It's probably Marco Rubio. And as we all know, Marco Rubio has actually met with His Royal Highness, King Reza Pahlavi, back as early as 2021. So now we're seeing all this sort of talk and narrative come out of the mainstream media about the hardliners. And yes, I know that people, especially Iranian people and Israelis, are very, frustrated at this so-called perceived ceasefire. But I don't see this as a ceasefire. I really do see this as the end game, and I'll explain why. Patibto, you heard the news of Pezeshkian asking if he can resign, right? He wanted to resign as president of the Islamic regime. Pezeshkian being this guy here.
Yes, I've heard that news.
So If the Islamic regime was doing so well, why would Pezeshkian want to resign?
You know what, Goldie? It's not a. It's a clear matter that Islamic regime is not doing well. There is nothing to hide for them. Actually, they are saying out loud that we are surviving, and they are happy to survive for another day. They are celebrating. No, I don't know. 80 some days that they are still alive another day. So it's not a secret that IRG Islamic regime is not doing well, but resigning of Pezeshkian, it's a great signal. It's an important signal for everybody inside the regime, because if it was a fake news, it means that the deeper states of actually so-called deeper state of Islamic regime don't wanted him to be a president, so they wanted to change the president, and so on. And if it was a right news, if it was a true news, it means that the Pezeshkian himself, as at his position, can see something so bad that he's actually chickened out. So if they saw it in another any direction, there is a bad news for everybody inside the regime. So I see and I can understand that in this situation right now, there is a proof that Islamic regime has gone far by the point of no return.
Exactly, absolutely. And so that's, that's what I've been trying to convey to our viewers, because that news, it was only out in, it was just like a 1 point thing, and then everyone kind of moved on to the next thing. However, the fact that Pezeshkian was trying to resign, and now what we're seeing is the Islamic regime desperately trying to control the narrative and to control the media by claiming that no, this was fake, and he's actually not resigning, and all that stuff. Obviously, as we know, anything that comes from the Islamic regime, if their lips are moving, they're lying. So they're now trying to do damage control on that end. But also, anyone who actually believes the Islamic regime over like credible news sources, you're either in the wrong live stream, or hopefully you're able to open up your mind enough to understand that news coming from the Islamic regime, a totalitarian Islamic dictatorship that literally operates on propaganda, they don't say anything truthful. So don't ever believe the Islamic regime over anyone else, because the Islamic regime is always lying. And you can take that from me as an Iranian, you can take that from Petito, you can take that from all the Iranians in the chat as well. So for non-Iranians, if you're coming into a live stream that's literally run by Iranian people, and you're going to try and Iran-splain the country to us, or try to Iran-splain to us why the media outlets from the Islamic regime are more legitimate than the ones that are not, you're going to have a bad time. You're going to have a bad time, because that, that nonsense can fly in like live streams or chats that are not run by Iranian people. But when you have a live stream that's literally run by Iranian people, and Petito, by the way, Petito is an Iranian freedom fighter inside of occupied Iran. That's why he's not using his real name or face, because if he was going to use his real name or face, he would put his life at risk. That's why, people in our live stream, like Gandalf, right? Gandalf is also from occupied Iran. He can't use his real name or real face. So for all the non-Iranians who are tuning in right now, you actually are in a very unique opportunity where you literally can speak and ask questions of actual Iranians, right? And not just like analysts or pundits or media or whatever. Like that's why we do these live streams, to give you guys an input and insight into what's actually happening. So the other thing, Petito, that I wanted to talk about really quick and get your thoughts on this. So, I mean, as you know, one of the things that Araqchi, the Tazi or whatever, let me pull it up here. Just even saying his name makes me angry. Like I said, کی اسمش میذاره عراقچی، یعنی تو ایرانی نیستی اگه فامیلت عراقچی، یعنی معلومه که از عراق اومدی. Like I don't understand, these people are crazy. But let me pull it up. So this was a very interesting development. But again, I think this is why a lot of Iranian people, especially in the diaspora, and a lot of Jewish people as well, are a little bit frustrated or confused. So for the last little while, Araqchi and Ghalibaf and others, they've been putting out statements saying that the ceasefire between Iran, they mean the Islamic regime, and the US is unequivocally a ceasefire on all fronts, including Lebanon, right? They've been putting out these statements saying that if you want to have a ceasefire, if you want to come to a deal, that has to include Lebanon. Now, they don't actually mean Lebanon. What they're talking about is occupied Lebanon. They're referring to Hezbollah, right? They're referring to the fact that Israel has been absolutely destroying Hezbollah. And Hezbollah is a terrorist proxy militia group that has occupied Lebanon. And Hezbollah is 100% funded by the Islamic regime using the stolen money of the Iranian people. So the fact that the Islamic regime cares more about a bunch of like stinky, inbred 7th century Muslim Arab terrorists that are occupying Lebanon, they care more about Hezbollah than they do about the Iranian people. That in of itself is more proof that the Islamic regime is a foreign invading occupation, right? Because again, they're gaslighting. They don't actually mean Lebanon, because Hezbollah is the enemy of the Lebanese people, the same way that the Islamic regime is the enemy of the Iranian people. But they use the word Lebanon because they want people who are not familiar with the Middle East to assume that Israel is attacking Lebanon. No, Israel is attacking Hezbollah. And there's a huge difference. And the Lebanese people are actually happy about this. But here's the thing. So for the last little bit, the Islamic regime, and Araqchi is this guy here. So if we look at the Durka Jihadi bingo sheet, Araqchi is right there, the foreign affairs minister, okay? So he's put out statements saying that any sort of ceasefire must include Lebanon. Now, here's what happened earlier today, which I find, interesting from a geopolitical perspective. So let me just remove the comments so I can share this with you. So President Trump posted at 1:29 p.m. He said, I had a very productive call with Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu of Israel, and there will be no troops going to Beirut, and any troops that are on their way have already been turned back. Likewise, through highly placed representatives, I had a very good call with Hezbollah, and they agreed that all shooting will stop, that Israel will not attack them, and they will not attack Israel. 10 minutes after President Trump posted this Truth Social, we immediately saw alerts that Hezbollah has attacked northern Israel once again, which means that within 10 minutes of President Trump saying that there's a ceasefire, Hezbollah, and by default, the Islamic regime, which controls Hezbollah, broke that ceasefire. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, look, this is just President Trump just doesn't know what he's doing. I see it differently. And Petito, this is where I'd like your opinion on this, because I mean, maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. But the way that I see it is the fact that, IRGC and Ghalibaf. Where is it? Where's IRGC? So the fact that like IRGC and Ghalibaf and all these people from on the Islamic regime side, they were basically saying, we're not going to agree to a deal unless Lebanon is included. And President Trump said, sure, okay, fine, let's include Lebanon. Let's include Lebanon. I've spoken to Hezbollah. They've agreed they're not going to attack, right? And then 10 minutes later, Hezbollah attacks, which means the ceasefire is broken. So to me, that shows that the card that the Islamic regime was using, the Lebanon card, the Hezbollah card, President Trump took that card away from them, because now moving forward, the Islamic regime can no longer use that situation in Lebanon and Israel. They can't use that as a way to prevent the deal from going through. So they played that card. President Trump called their bluff. Because now, moving forward, what are they going to say? Are they going to continue claiming that we're not going to sign a deal because there's no ceasefire? Well, that's because it's because Hezbollah broke the ceasefire. So that, delay tactic they had, President Trump took that away from them. Patipto, I could be like interpreting this completely wrong, but I mean, I'd love your opinions on President Trump's most recent Truth Social posts, and what you think they mean.
First of all, I would love to share my opinion with you, and it's always my pleasure to share my thoughts to all the listeners. It's like a relief to me. And on this matter that you were talking, I see I see some things in order, some steps in order, and I think if I want to be so simple, share my ideas so simple with you, I can say President Trump is the one who who orders the attack, and but he want to make him to the world. He's the one who always offers peace. But his strategy is to not kill the opponent for simply kill the opponent for with one move, as he can, as he has the opportunity, and he has the all the things he need to finish them in just one move. But I think with keeping every point in the mind, and wanting to making the best effort, his strategy and his alliance strategy is to move in order. First, try to cripple your opponent, and then try to behead or decapitate them, and then go with the negotiations, and make them to accept your actually peace, or they have to move forward or attack you, or break the ceasefire. So actually, President Trump situation in all of these is there is two deals on the table, and the both of them are going to benefit President Trump. So if I want to answer your question, I have to say yes. I think it is right, and in my picture, I can explain this, that in my point of view, I can explain this like, if you are fighting with the devil, if you are fighting with the most vicious man alive, actually with every word, you have to work smart, work with discipline, and more, after all, have a great plan for deploying your steps. If I have if I give you your answer and I have time, I want to point another thing in this matter.
Yep, please go ahead.
Thank you. Um, at these days, or at least for about 6 months or half a year ago, everybody's question is why President Trump, or why USA, or why IDF do not finishing the regime, or do not attacking the regime, and projecting the picture that people in Iran are not part of this revolution, or are some or playing a little part in this revolution, and projecting the weight of moves of IDF or US Army is so affected, and we need them to be among us. But I want to address the fact that first of all, Israel, and after them, USA, army, patriots, and brave peoples in this nation joined this fight with the devil. I want to address the fact that at the 70s, when the Islamic Revolution is beginning and taking a part in Iran's future. First family was Pahlavi family, and after them, so many brave people that do not let Islamic regime do their plan and execute their plan perfectly. They fight with the regime at the darkest times. They fight with the regime at the loneliest days. Actually, if we at this moment, at these days, after all, after killing Khamenei, actually some days or some seconds, we feel that we overwhelmed with emotions, and we feel the disbelief, or we cannot have some power to continue at this very moment, at these days. After all, I just wanted you to imagine what these people, that I addressed earlier, that the pioneers of freedom fighting, and the pioneers of freeing Iran, including Pahlavi family and so many other people like the Pishman, Taksidoman, Feridun Farrokhzad, that you all know, was so visionary, so powerful, so ثابت قدم رو نمیدونم چجوری بگم، ولی so they have believe with their own soul at this matter that we are going to win. So if you change this perspective with from 30 years ago, 40 years ago, 20 years ago until today, that the fact is the people of Iran, the Iranian patriots, the Iranian freedom fighters already started this fight, and after a long, very, very long and endless days, and making so many impossible things possible, we came along at the moment that Israeli nation, IDF, and Israeli people joined us because they believe we are going to win. Because they believe we are going to make allies. And after that, President Trump and U.S. Army and U.S. nation joined us because they believe that matter too. So when we are talking about the belief, when we are talking about these things, we can conclude the matter with the point that the choices is already taken. We are going through a process that must, first of all, end this demonic regime and demonic hands behind the picture of the regime. And but more important that it's have to be surgical, because there is nothing, there is a little leave, there is no life remains, actually close to zero leave remains in Iran. So we have to be very careful with every steps to be at surgical position, and very smart, with very smart plan and dedication, we're going to pass this process. The good news is we already on 98% of the process. So I want to invite you that enjoy this this remaining 2%, and don't rush with the ideas that we all having at these days, and let them just flow with time. Let them just go with time, because actually the state of panic we live in when we think about these matters is designed for IRGC militias, for regime militias, and we don't belong to this place. So simply leave this state of panic and fear, trust the process, and look for the future, because the sun is already rising, and you can see the future is bright.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Petito. I really appreciate your thoughts and your comments, and I know that our viewers do as well. And as you can see, Gandalf, who's in occupied Iran as well, and he was able to connect today. He agrees with everything you're saying. So, yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation, and again, I try to explain this to many of our non-Iranian viewers. The reason that Iranians, want this to be over and done with sooner is because, of course, the Islamic regime is murdering innocent Iranians every single day. So that's why there is a sense of urgency, because there is a humanitarian aspect to this as well. But I do have faith in President Trump, and I'll explain why. That's because a few days ago, President Trump posted this. Okay, so like I've explained to you all before, when politicians post something on their social media accounts, it's because they want you to pay attention. So President Trump just a few days ago posted about the sexual abuse in Iranian prisons. Not that it's happening, but that it's surging, right? So pay attention to the wording, because this article is not saying that sexual abuse is just starting to happen. They're saying it's surging, which implies that sexual abuse has been happening in prisons for the last 47 years. And that's what we've been telling you when we tell you that when Iranians, especially young men and women, are arrested, not only are they tortured, but they're also raped. And there's so much, like, sexual abuse is a part of their ideology. And remember, before they hang women, they rape them to make sure that their souls don't go to heaven. That's the kind of Islamic regime that we're dealing with. And the fact that President Trump posted this on his Truth Social means that he knows what's going on. So again, President Trump is well aware of the humanitarian crisis as well. I do have to wrap up, so let me just go to the super chats really quick, and then we'll get some final thoughts and comments from Petito, and then I'll call it a night, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. So our first question and comment is from Steven, who says, I want Trump to give the IRGC early retirement. Let Iranians and His Majesty take back their country. Thank you. I agree. You know what? 47 years is long enough. Let's retire the Islamic regime and make sure they never come back. Thank you. And thank you for supporting His Royal Highness King Reza Pahlavi. Ron Hamill says, Rubio for president, smartest man in government. Guys, I'm not going to get involved in American politics. I know who I would vote for in 2028 if I was an American citizen. I'm not going to get involved in American politics, though. But if I, without saying who I would vote for if I was an American citizen, his name would start with an M, and it would end in Arco Rubio. Cat Not says, can you tweet the Durka chart? I can't find a clear version online where the text is. So I actually saw your post, Cat, and I posted the link earlier. So I think you probably saw that right away when I shared that. And then another comment from Cat. Wasn't Ghalibaf involved in corruption, embezzlement scandals at mayor of Tehran? So maybe he's just a corrupt hardliner who likes money. He may have been. Ghalibaf was never the mayor of Tehran. He was the former commander. So if I bring up Ghalibaf, just for everyone's reference, Ghalibaf is this guy, the so-called moderate. He was never involved in the mayor's office directly. He's a former IRGC general. So basically this guy, the forehead skid mark guy, he's the current version of Ghalibaf. Ghalibaf used to hold his position. So that's why, there are literally no moderates there. But was he involved in embezzlement? 100%, guys. Every single person on the Durka bingo sheet is involved in embezzlement, scandal, corruption, terrorism. Every single one of these people are literally millionaires, because some of them billionaires, because they have been using Iran as an ATM for the last 47 years. And keep in mind, prior to the US blockade, Iran was exporting, or the Islamic regime, I should say, because they would keep all the money for themselves. The Islamic regime was exporting $500 million worth of oil every day, right? So basically, the Islamic regime was getting $1 billion every 2 days. And now that's been cut off. But just imagine 47 years worth, 47 years of the Islamic regime stealing $500 million a day and lining their own pockets. Yeah, the embezzlement, fraud, and corruption is absolutely insane. But that's why there is Operation Economic Fury, and Scott Bessent is all over that. And I have spoken about that as well. But thank you for the question. Then we have a comment from Mr. Ray. Hey, Goldie, been watching and keeping up since it started. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I served in the U.S. Army and deployed to Iraq twice. Wow, thank you for your service. If I wasn't so old and crippled up now, I wouldn't mind going to Iran and getting another crack at the Durkas. Oh, you know what? We would love that, but you've earned it. You've earned it. So first of all, thank you so much for your service to your country, and thank you for exterminating the Durkas in Iraq, which of course were proxies of the Islamic regime. And in fact, there were IRGC people there as well. However, when Iran is free, you should definitely come visit, not to take a crack at the Durkas, because at that point, Iran will be a Durka-free zone, but you should come and just have a good time. And we'll, have some great food, meet some amazing people. We love Americans. We'd love to host you. Rod says, I grew up in St. Louis and lived next to Perry Turnbull of the Blues. I was a big fan and hated Chicago. However, in 2010, I drove the Stanley Cup. After Chicago won its first, the assistant coach lived in New Jersey. Wow, very cool. Okay. That's a very, very cool story. Thank you for sharing. Wow. Eponymous Rex says, I loved your collaboration last night. It was a nice break. Okay, so for those who are wondering, last night I some of us, not all of us, but some of us went on a school field trip. So in case you're wondering, we went to my sister's channel and we watched a space documentary about whether reality is real or a simulation. And it was very interesting. And it was also my sister's first live stream because my sister is an aerospace engineer and now she's starting her own YouTube channel. And last night was Sunday evening and that's what we did. And I'm actually joining her again tomorrow. So tomorrow evening, I'm not doing a live stream tomorrow evening because I have a bunch of videos that I've been working on and I want to release the videos. Like I'm still doing Iran Revolution live, obviously, but I'm not doing my evening live stream tomorrow because I'm working on videos and I need time to do some research. So instead, my sister is going to be doing another live stream tomorrow evening. This is on literally my childhood fear, the dying sun. So I'm going to go tune in. I probably will join her again. So anyone who's interested, you're welcome to join us on the class field trip to, this channel, the Gamma Ray Report. I put the link in the chat before. And again, my sister is an aerospace engineer. So and aerospace engineering professional. So she literally knows her stuff. So there you go. I'm also getting an update. Yes, Ghalibaf was in fact the mayor. Wow, so Ghalibaf was the mayor of Tehran for 12 years as well. So then 100% he was involved in embezzlement. Yeah, guys, these people they're all corrupt. They're all corrupt. Honestly, I can't keep track of who is what. I literally can't keep track of who's done what because they're all terrorists and they're all Durkas. But yeah, apparently Ghalibaf was the mayor for 10 years. Ghalibaf really wanted to be president, by the way, but he lost because I don't know why, game of Durkas or whatever. But yeah, so if anyone wants to learn about space or all that kind of stuff, literally nothing to do with Iran. But it's a nice break. So we're doing another field trip tomorrow. Now, my sister has promised me, because I know many of you are interested in talking about Pluto, her next live stream, which will be next Sunday evening, the next live stream will be on whether or not Pluto is a planet. So there you go. But yeah, go check out my sister's YouTube channel. All space sciencey stuff. Pretty cool. And she's very smart. She's a smart one in the family. But thank you so much for the comment, Eponymous Rex. I appreciate that. I'm glad you enjoyed the live stream last night. Okay. Cat Not says, Petito, question for you. Was just going to ask about Petito right before this. How's the economic situation? Are people still using cell phones as currency?
Actually, I'm quite surprised that he referenced that matter. So, but no, actually, the economy obviously is sinking, and the phrase that I use, that people are using cell phones as currency, is right. Is kind of true. But I want to address the fact that people are people are going to don't use Iranian currency, and they are turning to exchanging things with each other, like when the time.
It's called a barter system.
Yeah, that system, that's a very old system, and it's happened when the economy collapsed.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, definitely more of the barter system. And again, that's another sign that the Islamic regime is crumbling, because this back and forth barter system can only last so long. Okay. So T. Thompson says, finally joined as a member. Thank you. Welcome. You are certainly up late. Glad to see Petito live. Yeah, so it's because I don't do like my 10, 12-hour live streams right now. I just, do shorter. So Iran Revolution Live is 2 hours a day. That's from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. Eastern. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you can see that tomorrow's live stream is already set up. So we do a 2 hour Iran Revolution Live, and then that gives me some time to work on making some videos and updating some information for you guys, and then I usually do my evening live stream, and I actually like to watch some Iranian commentators before I go live, so that's why I kind of start around 8:45, 9 p.m. Because I always want to make sure that I finish watching Morad Vaisi before I start. By the way, guys, I want to say I was watching Morad Vaisi's live stream tonight, and he had a lot of very interesting things to say about the current situation with Hezbollah and Lebanon and Israel and the Islamic regime and the United States. And of course, he always has input and insight from the Iranian people. So I'm working on translating that. I do have his permission to translate his live streams and share them in English. So I'm gonna start making like some videos where I take his like the pertinent info in his live streams and share them in English, because I know that many of you appreciate his analysis. I don't usually have time to do as often, but I will. I will be doing these videos. And thank you, Thompson, for being here. David sent a super sticker. Thank you. Mark Dennis Fritz says, to answer your question to my chat, the video I shared was your just released footage video. Oh, okay, thank you. Yeah, I mean, this is there's a lot of important videos in that. So thank you for sharing that. Laszlo says, my goals are in alignment with those of the Islamists. We both want them to be martyrs for their cause. Yeah, guys, we all want them. We all want them to achieve their goal of martyrdom, right? So let us help the jihadis achieve their goal of martyrdom on the road to Allah or Quds or whatever. And then nice to see you, Petito. Great work, Gigi. Oh, thank you. Okay, so we do have to wrap up. Petito, we'd love to hear from you. Any final thoughts or comments before we end the show? And honestly, such a pleasant surprise. Guys, this was Petito's first appearance on the Goldie Show. So we're so happy to have you here, because usually it's just me talking by myself.
Goldie, as always, I'm honored to be here with you, and thank you for giving this opportunity to me. It's it means a lot to me and people around me. First of all, I want to send my appreciation and loves and thanks to every lovely comments in the chat. I'm reading so many prayers. They say so many say they praying for me. That means a lot for me. And actually, I want to send my love to all of the people around the world who talking about me. That means a lot, and it's a great pleasure for me. I'm not gonna lie. And after that, some say some of the people are asking in the comments about the rise funding or buy me a coffee link. I want to answer this question that the process of last 3 months 3 to 5 months with your support has changed the form of lives of so many people. I can I can tell at least 100 people, 100 freedom fighters and families in Iran. And with your help and support, we get through so many impossible things. And uh, all of them are in good shape and very thankful for your helps and supports. But as you know, the life is going on for these people and people around them, or so many other people that we want to reach out. And for answers, the main fundraising and the main needs are with your help are it is okay. But if we want to go on, there are so many things that we can get through and solve with your help and support. And at last, my last thoughts and I want to share with you. It's about myself. At very moments of life, I found myself in a situation that I am in over simulating, or I'm overthinking, and the simple judgments of a day, like when I get out of the bed, or when I have to today I have to drink coffee or drink tea. When the situation is very difficult to solve, I have a rule for myself. At these moments of overthinking and over simulating things, when I reach this very moment, I have a rule that I have to oversimplify everything. So I have to oversimplify my task, or oversimplify my thoughts, oversimplify my jobs, and until I reach the point that I can see what I'm going to do. So I just want to share my strategy and my thing at this moment with you guys. That when everybody or somebody come to a conclusion that what is going to happen, and when anybody seeking the when in the process of seeking the answer of what is going to happen, anybody find itself himself at the moment of uh, over simulating or overthinking, I want to invite them to use this technique and use this method to at least overcome the uh, shading moments and reaching the point of a clear view. Thank you, Goldie, and love all the people in the chat, all the patriots around the world. As always, I'm Israel Khai, uh, and long live Iran and every freedom fighter around the world.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much, Petito. Always so great to hear from you. What a pleasant surprise to have you here. You honor us with your presence. And, you know, Petito, honestly, every single time I go live, the first question everyone asks is, how's Petito? What are the updates? So it's just such a pleasure to have you with us. And please be safe. مواظب خودت باش لطفاً. And guys, for everyone who has tuned in, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining and watching. I really do believe that we are in the end game. And when you look at every single piece of the puzzle and you put it together, there's a reason that the narrative coming from the Americans is essentially pitting the Islamic regime against one another, because I truly believe that President Trump is taking advantage of the cracks in the system to make the Islamic regime collapse sooner. Now, do I wish that the Islamic regime would collapse tomorrow? 100%. That's what we all want. Do I think it's going to happen? The likelihood is probably not. But I know it's going to collapse at some point. And just like people couldn't predict the fall of the Berlin Wall, but when it happened, that's exactly how it's going to be with the fall of the Islamic regime. And authoritarian dictatorships always, often look strongest right before they collapse. So keep that in mind as we continue monitoring and observing the Islamic regime, but also as we continue monitoring and observing and raising awareness about the Iranian people's fight for freedom. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, we have to think about the humanitarian aspect of this. And that's the Iranian people. And just like everyone else, Iranians deserve to live in a country that is free, that is secular, and that is democratic. Because ultimately, Iran belongs to Iranians, not to the Islamic regime. And with that, guys, I'll see you all tomorrow. This has been The Goldie Show, and now you know. پاینده ایران جاوید شاه.
غرق انقلاب است. کشور ما، تاریخ ما در سینگر فرا گرفته، گویی اهورا مستا دوباره در نور خود مرا گرفته. اکنون سرودی سر میدهم باز فارغ از رنج و تشویش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. هن ای پدر، هن ای پسر، برخیز و با ما شو همگام. درد آن تجربه تلخ ما را نکشیده در خواب. بگذار هر دم بغرند گرگ‌ها در لباس میش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ای کارگر، ای برزگر، راحت کنون ادامه دارد در این زمان که پرتو یزدان از هر سو بر تو میبارد. پس پیش به سوی آزادی از بحر خزر تا کیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. خلق‌ها به پا، بهر دفاع از استقلال و آزادی، تا بشکنیم پشت ارتجاع تیریزی ویران آبادی. تا زنده سازیم سنت‌های می از غرب آیین و کیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. با امید روزی که تمام این دلبشو و انقلاب تموم بشه و ما در روشنایی، نور و سعادت مردم کشورمون غرق بشیم. نه خارجی، نه بیگانه، نه مستشارهای ویرانی، نه چیر خاران، نه کاسه لیسان، فقط هم رزمان ایرانی. با شرافت میهنی بسازی بهر فرزندان خویش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. مردان بیایید داخل صف ما، اکنون که آغاز رویاست. دشمنان بدانید ما زنده هستیم، بعد از ما هم ایران پابرجاست. آن روح شیطان ما را فریب داد با صد شعار مردمیش. ایران غرق انقلاب است، به پیش به پیش به پیش. پرچم ایران غرق خون شهیدان روی شانه هامان حمل میکنیمش در هر خیابان و میدان تا ماسک دلق کان را برداریم از روی تسبیح و ریش